Good evening, everyone, and greetings to the Davidson College community and all of our friends and family and colleagues and patrons here in North Carolina, in New York City, throughout the US and abroad. I want to thank you all for joining our opening night live stream of The Refugees. And my name is Stephen Kaliski. I am the writer and director of the piece and a visiting professor of theater at Davidson College. So before we get started tonight, I want to say a few words. First, to acknowledge this moment that we are in right now, and that it's a very difficult time. We're all going through this together. I do want to extend some extra thoughts tonight to New York City and all of our loved ones up there, and we're thinking of you. Also extending thoughts to our students here at Davidson and students everywhere, high school, middle school, elementary school, college students. We know that this is a difficult time. It's a difficult time for your teachers too, and that we hope that you can regain your sense of community soon and that you can find connections in whatever way that you can in this very difficult juncture we are at. So tonight was supposed to be our opening night of The Refugees at the Duke Family Performance Hall in Davidson, North Carolina. My cast was 5 weeks into rehearsal, and then we all had to go home. So we figured the show doesn't have to go on, but we thought, why not? We're in this world now where we're doing our classes and our teachings on Zoom, and we figured let's try the play out on this really innovative technological platform. So what you will be watching tonight is entirely without movement. All of the actors are in their living rooms and their bedrooms, wherever their final destinations were as they were leaving campus. And you will be seeing squares and rectangles of those images popping in, sort of like we're watching The Brady Bunch, something like that, but you're not going to see any traditional staging of this show. That's what you can expect to see in just a moment. This is a totally free stream tonight. We're not asking you to pay anything. I would ask you, though, to consider if you can send what you would have paid for a ticket price to any charitable organization that you feel really needs your help right now. We are highlighting, and you probably saw this on your welcome screen, a couple of refugee-centered organizations. One locally in the Charlotte area called Refugee Support Services. They were going to collaborate with us on this show and sell knitted goods in our lobby and teach classes to our patrons about the refugee situation in Charlotte. So if you can send them some extra help during this time, there's a way that you can do that via text by texting RSS Love to 44321. And I will have that screen up later on so you can remember that. And also our members of our college community were able to visit and learn from a refugee camp outside of Athens, Greece this summer. And that is the Ritsona camp, where an organization called IMU is doing incredible work to offer enrichment and educational opportunities to their residents. And we always like to send them some love. So that link is available for you as well. All right, before we begin, a special thanks to my theater company in New York, The Adjusted Realists, who came to Davidson this past summer to help workshop this play. Tonight, the show is approximately, or was going to be approximately 90 minutes as a staged entity. We will take a short 5-minute break about an hour in tonight. And I will also stick around for a short post-show Q&A. And if you have any questions that come up during the reading, you can throw those into the YouTube discussion thread. If you look at the description page on YouTube, you can see the complete cast list plus authorship credits. Some of the pieces later in the show are actually written by our students. And I want to say a really huge thank you to my designers on this show, Anita Tripathi, Kaylin Guess, Ketty Shum, and Nile Gatlia. You won't be able to see their work tonight, unfortunately, with the exception of Nile, our composer. I'm going to play a couple of his tracks as we go through this. One substitution tonight, Lily Michaela will be reading the role of one of the Minoan refugees. Okay, so we hope that we can present you with something that provokes a thought tonight, but hopefully it's not good enough that you ever think that we can replace live theater with technology. I really believe that. There's something special that happens when people are in the room together, and we really miss that right now. So we're doing the best that we can, but let's look forward to a day when we can all come back to the theater. Thanks so much, and we hope you enjoy The Refugees. Sorry, we are having our first technical difficulty here, so we will be starting just a second. Hold on, everyone.
In pre-show, audience members pass through a dimly lit camp en route to their seats on the far side of the theater. A group of refugees occasionally look up from their tasks to study the audience as they enter. A young boy kicks a soccer ball. As the play begins, ELECTRA slouches on stage, fatigued. She curls up on the floor, close to the audience, and looks out toward the refugees. A nurse follows closely behind her, wheeling a cart of fruits, vegetables, and a blender. The refugees address ELECTRA and the audience.
Dear Argos,
It's us.
The people of Athens,
Minoa,
and
Thrace. Familiar faces from abroad.
Hello.
Hi.
Sorry to show up like this unannounced.
It's inconvenient, we know.
When you said years ago, friends, you're welcome anytime, we understood you really didn't mean that. The offer of hospitality is so rarely meant.
Because the offer of hospitality
Is so rarely accepted.
but here we are anyways, accepting your offer.
Necessity has driven us to you in our most desperate hour.
Our homes are uninhabitable, mostly because of the burning air.
The drought and the seawater and the burning air.
Argos, we need your help.
Most importantly, shelter.
And food for now.
some jobs, perhaps?
A pathway to ARGIVE citizenship?
But you
seem
unconvinced.
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 How can we convince you?
Are you even hearing this?
We know you're busy.
So we had an idea.
Here's the idea.
Haikus!
Haikus! Short poems, 17 syllables total, 575. You don't have all day.
We Greeks have written haikus for you.
Haikus that answer this question.
What do we miss most about home?
Here are the best ones we wrote.
Listen to what we've lost.
And no, in the meantime, we persist.
Home does not exist. Obliterated by time. I'll build a new one.
Blue. Home smells like blue. Tastes like blue. Looks like dark blue. Blue is all I miss.
My sunshine soulmate. She says, you worry too much, but she's my Xanax.
The boy kicks the ball hard, out of sight. He's stunned at his own strength. We hear the ball bouncing away. The boy chases after the ball, exiting. The refugees regard the audience. As they do, a wall seals off ELECTRA, the nurse, and the audience from the camp and the refugees. Alone with ELECTRA, the nurse plugs in the blender and loads it with the produce.
Despite the dread, life doesn't stop. It just relocates.
The nurse turns the blender on high for 15 seconds and then stops.
Further to that point, this is not the first stop on my journey, nor do I suspect it will be my last. I know when it's time to go. I always do. Your mythology teaches you that the arc of the moral universe is long, but when you've lived a life like mine, simply recognizing that it's an arc at all as opposed to a swelling blood stain on a scrap of napkin is insight enough. I don't care in which direction it bends. Towards justice? So what? The only certainty of the arc is that it takes me further away from home.
She shakes the blender and then runs it another 5 seconds.
In this privileged palace, they don't understand a word I say. It bothered me at first, for I had important messages to deliver and no one to hear them. I rattled with the scream of a heart who knows just how easy it is to fix the world if only other people would listen. Now I prefer the barrier. I can pass the hours in fantasy, imagining myself as a child, a warrior, an oracle, a goddess. And they say that when the nurse talks to herself, it's because it's her culture to do so. It's her way.
She pulses the blender a few times.
I understand them perfectly. It might surprise them to learn that beneath my dexterity with green smoothies lies a shocking truth. I'm educated. I listen and I know. I know what's happening to the world, and I saw the crisis coming all along. Call me prophetic if you like, but my forecasts have limits. I greet you now where my vision ends.
She pours the smoothie into a cup and gives it to ELECTRA.
I will set the stage for you. Here we are in Argos, the time not too far from now. The main characters are ORESTES and ELECTRA, who are the children, and CLYTEMNESTRA, the mother and queen. Surely these names will shimmer with recognition within you and scratch a memory of curses and consequences. Ignore these fragments as best you can and meet these characters anew. They confront the same planet that you will soon confront, are partly confronting already, but they're luckier than most. A chaotic reorganization of atmospheric currents, leaving much of the world in tatters, has brought kind winds and plentiful rains to Argos. The air is cool and misty. Even during planetary rupture, there are arbitrary winners. The stroke of luck, however, has an equal and opposite force. Abundance attracts scarcity, and Argos attracts the field. Displaced people, unused to displacement, flock to the walls of this tiny land, hoping against hope for entry, for some kind of salvation. Whether their farms are mired by droughts, or their homes are submerged in ocean, or their forests are choked by fire, they all need an Argos now to fill an impossible void. 3 separate masses of refugees, quarantined in a single camp, a bespoke purgatory with crumbs of the past, currently plead for asylum. The Athenians, the Minoans, and the Thracians. CLYTEMNESTRA wants to keep them out. The children want to let them in. With the threat of radical newness tremoring into a fever pitch, ORESTES and ELECTRA have proposed a motion to open the city's borders to the refugees at little risk to native argives. They await CLYTEMNESTRA's decision with the gnawing urgency of moral certitude.
The nurse takes the smoothie cup from ELECTRA and begins to push her cart off. She stops.
I doubt any of this will solve the big picture. But as a small experiment, as a test tube for hope, I think it's worth watching. Personally, I have hope in the children. If we cannot believe in our children, what else is there?
The nurse exits. Enter Orestes and a chorus of their friends, led by PYLADES. Electra reclines on the ground while the others talk.
I feel young today, agitated, full of untapped energy, anxious with some premonition that everything I have to offer will go unused, wasted, as if I were an overzealous shopper who bought too much produce. I was just trying to be healthier.
Stop rehearsing tragedy, Orestes. It won't help you. The pounding in our chest, the inability to sit still, these are good things. Forecasts of future triumph, not failure. Breathe deep. We're about to win.
I'm trying to believe you, but all I can hear is this frantic chorus of, what if this? What if that? What if? What if? What if?
You're not alone.
We all feel what you're feeling, Orestes.
We're all new to this activism thing.
But when the cause landed at our doorstep, we had no choice.
We had to do something.
Do something, but wait first. Wait to do something. Tough lesson.
Our blood pumps in trapped circles.
Ah! This is killing me. Why is she taking so long?
Because you're her son.
It's true.
A paradox that runs across families.
Whomever you love the most, you respect the least.
She infuriates me. Pick any issue, and for years, literally years, I'm like, Mother, you cannot cut arts funding to Argos. I roll off stat after reliable stat, studies of how we are resoundingly less than whole when we lose dance and music and theater in our lives. I know, sweetie, I know. Trust me, there will always be plays. We just can't pay for them. She didn't get it. And then, what do you know? She attends one fundraiser, listens to one hunky actor romanticize about an after-school drama program that saved him from a life of crime, and all of a sudden, she's convinced.
There's little logic to what changes a mother's mind. It's a mix of whimsy and what she ate for breakfast. But I believe she'll vote for this one. Trust me, you're on the right side of history. Now, as fickle as she can be, we believe she'll see in your proposal the conviction of the young asserting the world they wish to inherit. She can't ignore that.
She's vulnerable to youth.
Look at every major moment of the past 2 years and look at who instigated it.
Persuasion clings to survival in the voices of the young, a label we still have.
Only for a few more years.
Have confidence, Orestes. You're fighting like hell. The world is worth saving as long as there are people like you in it.
Orestes embraces PYLADES. The chorus gathers around them.
I love you so damn much, PYLADES. It broke my heart to leave Hermione, but when I met you, I knew that our love was a necessity and worth the collateral damage.
Hermione, I'm not sure why you have to keep bringing up your ex, Hermione.
As a point of joyous contrast, she and I were total chaos, but you, my love, are my correction. You're sure when I'm unsure. You keep me on track, and it's good that you do. If you didn't, I would spend all day looking for dream houses for us on the internet, drooling over natural light and half baths, over crown molding and gut renovations, all promising a best life of ancient and future. What a waste of time. I pray that you and I will have that stuff someday. Do you think we will? You see, I'm already distracted.
Cancel these thoughts for now. Stay with us in this moment. Life has never been as full, for better or for worse.
Not often do humans, such blips on the radar, get to witness cosmic consequence.
It's a privilege to live during any rise or any fall.
Here we are, alive. You're surrounded by friends.
The present throbs with ecstatic.
Yes, yes, now is now is now!
Spinning around the room, he turns to Electra.
Electra, I'm sorry. Am I stressing you out as I wail and rage against the futility of hope? Because I don't mean to. You should just rest and relax. I can be angry enough for the both of us.
Oh, don't try to shield me. I'm just a little weak today. So pressure change outside from the rain. It makes it hard to stand. But I am no less capable of rage and problem solving.
If you say so, it worries me to see you so low energy.
Your worry makes it worse. Let's stay on the issue.
I love how brave you are.
Not brave.
You fight through any obstacle.
I'm just trying to do my best. Hardly brave.
A brother can't help but melt when he sees you. Electra, daughter of Agamemnon, top of her class, vital. A once unstoppable mind and body now confined to her house, to 71 degrees, to omega-3s and electrolytes and a diet of bitter foreign greens. I ache to see you like this. Here we are. The world is burning around us. Thousands of people are in desperate need of our help. But one look at you and all I can think is, how can I save you? You, just you.
You have to stop. I'm not worth the distraction. You have a beautiful bleeding heart, but it has limited supply. Ration your blood carefully.
When we win, the victory will cure you both in mind and body. Now, these outsiders will no longer be refugees, but new argives. Think of the gifts from these proud people. The Athenians will give us their intellect, their artistry. The Minoans, their spiritualism, their feminism. The Thracians, their strength, their toes in the earth. And they're not all strangers, especially the Athenians. We know so many Athenians. We receive pleading postcards all the time from Athenian acquaintances, friends, former classmates. I received one just the other day on behalf of a young orphan, apparently my distant cousin. It's no stretch to say that our family is out there, our family.
The Athenians have always been our family.
But whether family or strangers, all of these immigrants will all enrich our homeland, fortifying it against the future. And it will be because of us.
You put it so beautifully, Pylades. You really do. You should speak for me. Sometimes when I talk in front of the older argives, I get this gnawing sense that they aren't as jazzed as we are. Like they suspect these new neighbors are going to drain rather than replenish. It's a fallacy, of course.
Of course.
People need proof. Let the refugees in first, and then the argives will see.
A low, foreboding groan through the palace.
At last our wait is over.
A messenger enters with absurd effort, as if finishing a marathon.
Electra and ORESTES. Your mother asked me to tell you that she apologizes for the delay, a small matter of state, a dispute over real estate development. Well, let me explain. You know that big plot of land near the highway? It was willed to Argos by a man who is now quite dead. His family claims he wanted the land turned into a park, babbling brooks, jungle gyms for the kids. Nice idea, but this claim is not in legal writing. So some entrepreneurs floated a shopping mall instead. And some mixed income housing and a light rail. Well, now everyone is upset. Especially the people with nothing to complain about. And hashtags have commenced. Hashtag save Argos. Hashtag not in my backyard. Hashtag #ourpolis. Give me a break. We've been in hot debate about what to do and couldn't consider your proposal until just now. We hate to shelve refugees and the planet for the end of the agenda, but triage in government works in strange reverse. I don't need to tell you that. Anyways, you submitted a motion for the opening of our borders to the refugees. You made an economic case. You added a humanitarian case. You mentioned things like jobs, xenophobia, racism, sustainability, and moral courage. We read through all of these things. We even read them out loud. And CLYTEMNESTRA's answer is, let me see, no. Got it? That's about it. The answer is no. She also says she loves you very much and believes you'll have beautiful families.
Awkwardly and abruptly, the messenger exits. ORESTES, Electra, and the chorus are suddenly quiet and small.
So that's it?
That's it.
So quick. Final decisions are always a gut punch, especially when delivered by proxy.
At least she had the decency to send a messenger instead of a text.
At least it wasn't a text.
Even when the worst seems likely or inevitable, we comfort ourselves with remnant hopes of a better way.
And then, insult to injury, those are dashed too.
What next? How to cope with such resolute wrongness from people who should know better?
I, for one, am not used to setbacks.
Orestes has started to weep. Electra takes his hands. Pylades and the chorus quietly move to the edges of the stage.
We're such bad kids.
You know we're not.
Our own mother won't listen to us. That's a sign of bad kids, ineffectual kids. When I grew up, I wanted to be the kind of man that inherited good sense and control from his mother and father, who then modeled that good sense at the dinner table and was met with rave reviews like, our boy is better than us because we raised him to be better and he soared. That's how it's supposed to happen. But no, you're sick, I'm gay, two devastating blows. She smiles through it, tells us she loves us, but we have no utility to her. All she wants is grandbabies. Stupid, dumb grandbabies. We have very little to leverage when all she wants is a grandkid.
One of us could adopt. We could do some research.
Don't even bother. Do you know that it's harder to save an unwanted child than to add to the mess ourselves? Besides, even if we did succeed, adoption wouldn't be enough for her. Whether she'll admit this or not, blood is important to her in the family line. Can you imagine me, Orestes, with a stranger's son? He'd be treated with curt pats on the head and distant smiles, nothing but simmering ice.
I hate that. It is a selfish way of thinking about the continuation of the species. We should challenge her.
Why? I don't want to be a dad. I just don't want to. Pylades and I value our long weekends. That should still count for something.
I wish I could be a mother. I actually want that. My body craves it. But you know what the doctors say about my chances. Dangerous at best, impossible at worst.
Exactly. Sorry, sis. We're out of options. We are failed children, like I said.
You're being too cynical. Let's just take a breath and continue to think. I'm sorry. Maybe it's just my perspective or my experience and chronic sickness, but why do healthy people always give up so easily? There must be a way to break through.
If there is, it can't come from us.
Oh, then maybe it shouldn't.
What do you suggest?
She should hear from the refugees directly.
She would never allow that.
Oh, why not? She's no arch villain. She's a resolute woman who can still surprise with unpredictable softness.
She wouldn't really listen to them. She'd play at it. She'd go through the motions. She'd look at them with eyes that say, "How I wish I could help you," and then cut them off or ask for further details in writing, pledge a follow-up conversation, and then ghost them.
So we just give up.
No, not give up. What I'll do is I'll volunteer at the camps. I'll leave the palace. I'll help out that way.
And what about me?
Don't worry. I'll volunteer enough for the both of us.
Oh, and how do you quantify that?
I bring the weight of the palace with me. I'll be a super volunteer.
Oh, please. Don't flatter yourself. You have no access to government funds. You bring the promise of celebrity with none of the agency. They'll resent you when they see all you can do is fold clothes.
I have to stay in motion. I have to do something. Being there feels better than being here.
Being there.
Yes.
You're right. What if we could get CLYTEMNESTRA to get there?
Fat chance.
But that could be the missing link. Thus far, all of our evidence been in folders and pie charts and PowerPoint presentations, too sterile. Maybe for her, being there would jar the removed assuredness she has from being here.
Electra, you found the crux.
Humans have to see.
Have to smell.
If we can pull this off, it may very well unlock her.
What's your plan, Electra? I'll do whatever you say.
Begin like this. You and PYLADES go to the camp today. Find the most persuasive representative in each group. Use your imagination and think about rhetoric. Don't recruit all academics or all men or all old people. Mix it up. Tell them they've been granted 5 minutes with the Queen to make their cases. To train them and get them rehearsed, but still authentic. Have them ready in 3 days. One way or another, I'll make sure CLYTEMNESTRA is there to hear them.
How will you do that?
Oh, trust me. Let me use my power. If I fail, then you can do whatever you want.
I will oblige. I feel a pulse of excitement in knowing, at least for the next few days, exactly what to do.
And PYLADES, for heaven's sake, find your cousin while you're out there. Bring him home. Whatever happens, he has a place in Argos.
Thank you, Electra. I do not know the boy, but I agree I should look into saving my own.
Into the fray we go, my friends! Watch after my sister while I'm away. Make sure she doesn't get too worked up.
ORESTES.
Don't worry, we'll be waiting for you for your triumphant return. We'd love you.
Love you and you and you and you and you and you and you. So much love. I'm feeling all the feels.
Orestes and PYLADES exit.
A new moment has arrived. Here's to Electra, who harnesses a jolt of action from every defeat.
The chorus exits.
I'm glad I found something for him to do. He's so often vanquished by impatience, his motor driving him toward the instant gratification of righteousness. My brother could never stand to wait around on the right side of a no-brainer. Fix now, that's what he wants. And then he'll start from scratch and then forget it. Sorry I ever asked, I'll fix it on my own. I may lack his physical privilege, but I have a better notion of how power works. I know that one well-placed conversation with a vulnerable person can turn the tides. Orestes is a stray electron, primordial energy in search of a partner force to impose order. In this chaotic strafing, he's inspired an idea. I'm hopeful. I think it will work. This time, the sister would take control.
The nurse enters silently and tends to Electra, giving her numerous supplements and a large green drink. As this happens, the soccer ball from earlier bounces through the space, with enough zest that it disappears off the opposite side. The refugees poke their heads through the wall.
Dear Argos.
Remember us?
We met at a fundraiser a few years ago.
Black tie affair for muscular dystrophy.
We sat at the same table.
We ate the same pesto penne.
We laughed about how we both get headaches when we walk to Sephora.
How did we start talking about Sephora again?
Oh, that's right, because we laughed about how all of our city-states have malls and thus Sephoras.
It broke the ice.
Made the conversation easy.
We drive on the same side of the road, and we both shop at Sephora.
We can both agree that Sephora has a strong aroma.
Which got us to thinking.
What else can we agree on?
It's a great question.
What can we all agree on?
So?
We wrote you more haikus.
They worked so well last time.
We think. We never actually heard back from you.
But here goes another round.
Listen to our plea. We're not so different, you and me.
The young boy enters, looking around for his ball.
what, when, where, how. Does any of it matter when people need help?
The rain will come down. Some will get wet, and some will grow. Some will thirst.
The boy realizes he's lost. He begins to panic. The boy exits in the direction of the ball, still very upset. Electra has finished her green drink. The nurse exits with her cup. The grinding opening of doors. Clytemnestra enters.
Electra, at the end of a long day, what a relief! You never cease to replenish me. It's impossible to communicate to a young person or a lonely person the depth of a mother's love for her children. I doubted it with every fiber of my being until the moment you were born. Suddenly, the love was total. It was indeed a switch, a biology, a miracle. I know I'm not a perfect parent. I probably disgust you. I hope I make you proud. But did you know that for each argument, for every clash, for each argument you might perceive as an irreconcilable distancing, you can do no wrong in my eyes. Even if I disagree with you, I know you believe in a magnificent potential for this world, and that makes me so proud of you. When you have children, you will understand. Please have children, no pressure. So, talk to me.
Speaking of your love for me, I have a premise I want you to consider. Visualize, if you will, the slim margins that keep me in manageable health. 2 years ago, I came down with unexplained weakness. I had to leave school. I could not get out of bed. Migraines, vomiting, brain fog. They destroyed my life, confounded every doctor, pushed me to the brinks of the most arbitrary death imaginable. I'm not bringing this up to hurt you or blame you. You were great. You loved me completely, sought every solution, and through no particular explanation, I stabilized. We discovered that if I ate just the right way, mostly plant-based, if I exercised just the right amount, mostly yoga, if the temperature within the palace stayed within the tightest parameters, mostly 71 degrees, I would live what some specialists called a normal life. Who knows why the body is weird. Now imagine that my given circumstances, blessed with privilege to the maximum degree, were any lesser. If we couldn't buy organic, if there was no thermostat, if we couldn't afford fourth and fifth opinions, and this is not a huge stretch, I were an average person, like all those many thousands at the gate, unrelated to you. My homeland no longer inhabitable. And I pin my only hope on your generosity. I will be dead. You would let me die. I don't say this to be cruel, but just to state a fact.
That is a painful hypothetical framed to remind me of a very dark time for our family. I still have nightmares about it, about the likelihood of losing you when it seemed all but certain. I'm grateful every day for the mercy of the gods, unscientific though it was. Your premise is problematic, though. You sneak in a bunch of conditions, but bury the key phrase in the middle, unrelated to you. You suggest that if you were unrelated to me, I would let you die. Well, okay. Yes, I would. Other women's daughters die every day. Explain to me why that's controversial.
If you have the ability to help a person, any person, and you don't, that's wrong.
You're so young.
Oh, don't play that game. My age has nothing to do with this.
If you were in my position, you might disagree.
You don't understand me.
Of course I do. This is what's so maddening about youth. You say we don't understand you, but consider the logic of that. I was your age. You have never been my age. I empirically know you better than you know me. I used to hate hearing that myself when I, like you, was so driven by ideals, so untouched by the numbing bureaucracies of the day-to-day. But do me a favor and swallow this pill. You're young and you don't know everything.
I will stand by what I do know in every fiber of my being. We Argives have a duty to help the refugees. Your generation has skipped mine and almost certain path to decay, but we refuse to be cynical. We choose the better path.
I am helping the refugees, Electra.
How?
I have not sent them away. I have let them be. They can have their camp here while they figure out their next steps. In the meantime, a network of nonprofits have emerged providing refugees with medical care, clothing donations, basic infrastructure. I am not intent on their slaughter. I just can't let them inside.
But you could, and it wouldn't hurt. We have more than we need. We could house feed and employ everyone at our gates today. It would actually benefit us. Orestes and I laid this out in our motion, backed by the smartest economists in the state. It would work. Archives are generous people. Spare bedroom, pay an extra percent in taxes, volunteer as a language teacher. Are these huge asks? You're insulting our people if you're suggesting that we're incapable of these small changes.
Forgive me, I have to go back to the age thing. I've learned, darling, in my twice as many years as yours, is that people despise all change equally, both the minuscule and the cosmic. Don't forget that we are animals. We're evolved to find food and a warm place to sleep and to keep our children safe. Anything beyond that is testing the limits of divine design. One day, when you are content, when you have your daughter and your warm place and a kind old wanderer asked to share your fire, you will see what I mean. You may indeed share it, but you won't want to.
I will share the fire without question. We all have our dark, selfish biases, but we have to be better than our animal natures. The gods have given us the reason we need to transcend our origins.
Did you feel that?
What?
And that again!
What do you mean?
And a third Electra, how could you? 3 and now 4, wait, 5, 6, 7, I can't keep count. Athenians, Minoans, Thracians, and more, all suffering, dying, reeling from heartbreak, and you've done nothing to help them when you certainly could have.
Don't be unreasonable.
But you could have helped them do the research. There are GoFundMes. Oh, but you gave $20. Why didn't you give $25? You have the money. Why are you being so selfish?
Mom!
Answer me.
Oh, your thought experiments are always so dramatic.
It's no experiment. People suffer everywhere, every minute. Did you know, when I was a child destined for this throne, anticipating how I would be the greatest ruler, I judged the years by the cumulative pain felt in Argos. 1 year would be awful. A drought, so many celebrity deaths, political scandal, and then another year would be better. There was one particularly good year when I was 14. Everyone was making money, and there was no terrorism, and climate change was still a back burner issue. In my infinite wisdom, I declared it best year in Argos ever, and I threw a party with all my friends. Silly or not, it has remained in my mind a model of the sort of year I want to replicate for my people. But last week, I was watching a documentary about a civil war, a genocide far to the east that cost 600,000 people their lives. Children were gassed in clusters, women were hung from billboards, hundreds of landmines still remain. Do you know when that happened? Yes. Best year in Argos ever. What did I or anyone do to help them? Nothing. We didn't even know it was happening. We were consumed by our own good fortune. Can you blame us for that?
You're implying that we should ignore the Athenians, Minoans, and Thracians because we can't help every person across every distant sea.
I'm implying that the urge for charity is a slippery slope. Where is the line? If we can help 3 groups, why not help 4? Protect your own. That code is clear to me. Do one thing well instead of all things badly.
But we have enough. You can't deny that we have enough. Resources are concrete. It's not up for debate.
Yes, we literally have enough.
You admit it.
Scarcity is more than how many cans of tuna we have in our bunkers. Scarcity is a mindset, an ether, a syndrome, a religion. In that sense, we are both non-believers, but I respect and fear the faith of others, and you disparage them.
They will rot on our doorsteps if we do nothing. On our doorsteps. In asking for asylum, they have become our own to protect.
I feel their pain, Electra. I truly feel it. I am not a monster. I ache at the doomed design of our species, smart enough to grow, too stupid to sustain. That gap in our evolution from initial brilliance to evasive transcendence is unbridgeable. Is that why our astronomers have failed at finding alien life? Is it a cosmic principle baked into physics that sentience cannot figure out how to manage its own ingenuity? My heart breaks that we let this happen to the planet, and it never seemed like we had a chance. Listen to me, I'm getting too woo-woo. Honey, I just don't understand why all of a sudden do you care so much? It can't be about some random proximity. You're smarter than that.
You're saying do what you can. I'm saying do as much as you can. There's a difference, Mom. There's a difference.
You mean so well. It hurts me how well you mean.
I get it. I get it. I get what you're saying. I just hate feeling like there's nothing I can do. I have so much to give.
Give it all to Argos. That's my advice. Argos has a beautiful future. And you know, when I said we're all doomed just now, I didn't really mean that. I was out of my lane. Every generation copes with its own dark clouds and emerges.
Stupid. That was so stupid. I should have known that you weren't going to listen to me.
Oh, sweet, don't cry. Was I too tough? I'm sorry if I was too tough.
It's okay.
It's not. I've upset you.
I just have the words in my head and they don't come out in the right order.
You are very articulate. I love that you have your own opinions unaffected by mine, that you've learned to think for yourself. Orestes too. I've raised 2 smart kids.
Orestes. Oh, Orestes.
What about him?
No, I shouldn't say.
Say what?
I promised I wouldn't.
Now you have to say.
So weak-willed look at me about to betray his trust. Orestes is gone, Mother.
From the palace? He should take the guards if he leaves the palace.
No, not from the palace, from Argos. He left. And when he heard that you denied our motion, he immediately denounced you and abandoned me. He took PYLADES and ran.
Where did they go?
This is where it truly betrays trust.
I quake with expectation.
Betrayal begins. On the edge of a camp, there's an orphanage, crammed with suffering youth. Some are children who lost their parents in Athens when the upheaval that followed the great drought took so many lives. Some are children who lost their parents along the way to Argos from Thrace, where the water was tainted, or Minoan, where the wildfires rage. Most are children, however, whose mothers and fathers have died here, at our gates, quietly, without fanfare. Maybe from a bacterial infection, or heat stroke, or simply despair. Listen to me as I tell you about one such boy, a Thracian boy named Tisamenus. His mother, Hermione, had just died from a cut on her foot, a simple infection, something that used to be so treatable. Before Hermione died, she sent a note to Orestes explaining that she remembered him from his time abroad, remembered his churning Aegean eyes, his passion for the big dreams, his love and kindness toward her, and that Tisamenus was proof of that memory. Do you see what I mean?
Oh?
So Orestes and PYLADES head for this orphanage. They will first stop at a makeshift altar of picnic chairs and sun-dried newspapers and be married under the eyes of the gods. They would then take Orestes' true son from these throngs of forgotten children and begin their family. Or should I say, continue our family. But away from us, from this cursed house of Atreus. And Orestes told me he would rather hazard his future in the angry earth's widening wasteland than be complicit in our small selfish abundance. He does not want to be part of a kingdom that does not help its friends.
Oh, a thrill that pierces like an arrow. My child a husband, my child a father, and I a grandmother. But also cut from the family tree, removed entirely from what I care most about. Are you serious, Electra? Is this my dream or my worst nightmare? Orestes and Pylades are to be husbands first, and then fathers to my grandchild?
That is correct. I am to be an aunt. Well, we're already an aunt. I hoped they would consider writing and sending pictures.
Pictures? Is that all I get? Pictures? Not enough. I want to hold their child in my arms, channel love across generations. Have I not proven to Orestes that I also love Pylades, that I'm okay with their thing? I mean, it's never a mother's dream, of course, but have I not done the best I could given the circumstances? Why has he cut me out of this?
I can't imagine your devastation. So close to your dreams, yet so far.
This is unacceptable. I'll send my guards out immediately. They will find Orestes and Pylades and young Tessimonius. The wedding will be here.
Yes, good idea. Send your guards to get them.
ASAP.
Orestes won't be happy, but good to get him back under the roof.
You'll be grateful in the long run.
I hope so. And of course, and you know this, he sure can hold a grudge, but maybe that doesn't matter.
A grudge? A grudge? I can deal with grudges if it means being closer to my dear Tessimonius. I ache at the years we've already lost. We must get the boy here now.
If there were an easy way, though, to avoid the grudge, would that be of interest?
Doesn't matter.
Oh, your grandchild might be close, but if the kid's father is against you, I worry about a slow drip of poison over the years. Orestes doing whatever he can to undermine the potential for a loving relationship.
I have tried his whole life to eradicate his grudges towards me. There is nothing I can do to soften his anger. Electra, I can feel you inching towards a major demand, so just say it. If I let the refugees in, you'll forgive me and I'll be in the good graces of our enduring family line. That's what you want, isn't it? Your internal plots are never quite so mysterious as you think they are, so you can just say it.
No. I'm sorry. That's not what I meant by all this. I know you've made up your mind about the refugees.
I don't believe you.
Really? Truly, I'm not asking you to reconsider our motion.
And what's your big idea?
Maybe, and just keep this between us. Maybe you could meet the refugees on their own turf. Visit the camp. Display a willingness to get outside your comfort zones and witness the harsh conditions that govern them. I have a feeling this would count for a lot. The optics would be super powerful. And once in the camp, you could hold a brief audience, perhaps listening to a representative from each camp asked to deliver personal testimonials. One Athenian, one Minoan, and one Thracian. I know you reserve in-person audiences for archives only, so this direct contact with the outsiders might be enough to show Orestes your inner struggle and therefore your heart. Again, I don't know.
Representatives from each group appealing their cases to me in person. Is that not crueler, Electra? False hope? My mind is already made up, and you mean to subject these long, suffering people to the illusion that I might assimilate them? I have felt from the beginning that with the clarity of my position, there is also kindness. Tell me how bad it's going to be, and I can prepare. String me along with optimism, and I am blind and bare when the talons pierce.
It pains me to suggest this cruel approach, to use the refugees as a pawns for some other end. But this is for family, for us. We risk losing Orestes and our house forever if we don't act.
You know your brother best. Tell me, when is the wedding planned? Do we have time to reach them before it happens? I want them married here.
He told me they'll be wed 4 days from leaving. I'll go to them now with news of your visit to the refugees and a humble request for a palace wedding. I will reach them in time. Pylades, always reasonable. We'll make sure my brother agrees.
I'd want Testimonius at these testimonials. I want to see him there.
Absolutely. But maybe we can have him hide off in the wings.
Oh, good Lord.
Oh, you can meet him immediately after. I just wouldn't want Orestes thinking you're distracted by your grandson when you should be listening to your refugees.
Fine. If you believe this mummer's farce of grace will engender some healing, I'm willing to sit through it. Remember to pack plenty of sunscreen and water, closed-toed shoes. Keep a strict timeline. 1 Athenian, 1 Minoan, 1 Thracian, no more than 5 minutes each. I don't have all day.
Thank you.
When it's over, I will say how moved I am and how I intend to think seriously about this. We will then usher Orestes and Pylades back here for an immediate wedding. Testimonius too, no questions asked.
That seems fair.
I am uncomfortable with this amount of dishonesty.
As am I. But when you see how our renewed house will prosper under this ancient roof, you'll be glad you took the time to listen.
So you say. This orphanage, Electra. Perhaps there is a child for you there. Have you thought about that? Adoption? Oh, you would make such a great mother, and you know you would have help.
I'll consider it.
What a gift it would be to some child in need. I'll say no more.
CLYTEMNESTRA exits.
Well done, Electra. You succeeded in an act of persuasion.
You've used your intelligence to alter the behavior of an older person.
Uncommon in these times.
Though, we wonder how you will perpetuate this invented backstory, should you somehow get what you want?
Agreed. This Testimonius boy, is this for real?
Oh. Pylades' cousin will play that role.
Oh.
A cunning choice.
Brilliant.
But
shouldn't Pylades and Orestes know the boy's role in your invented?
No, not yet. Orestes' righteousness will bristle at the lies I had to tell to get us here.
But eventually they will need to consent.
My brother's aversion to falsehood means that he never gets to witness its utility. I believe that CLYTEMNESTRA will be so moved by the refugees that she will open the gates at the close of their statements. And when she does, and Orestes is embracing Pylades, I will pull them to the side and tell them that their marriage comes with some extra baggage. Let mission be accomplished first and context provided second.
We're still concerned. Orestes will not want to raise the boy under any pretense. He values his long weekends.
I am not worried about that. I would not mind raising the boy myself if it came to that.
I suppose the boy would have a better life here.
Away from the camp.
I mean, it's what his parents would have wanted.
Or parent or uncle, whoever is or isn't raising him.
I mean, if we squint hard, we can see the ethics.
If we see the forest for the trees, we understand our activism is about the net gain. Save more than lose.
The simplest equation imaginable.
You've done well.
Gather our things. It's time to leave. Emotionally prepare yourselves for the journey ahead.
The nurse escorts Electra off.
Whew, that was intense.
Who knew that in being right, he would act so wrong?
I worry about this visit.
I fear the desperation we will confront unguarded.
Yes, there are whispers amongst us argives about the children in the camp.
A horrible truth that CLYTEMNESTRA keenly senses.
A ravenous charity consumes all those who lay eyes on them.
An urge to save this one, and then all of them.
At first, they say, it's a good feeling, a flattering feeling.
Save a life. What a noble action.
That's the first day.
On the second day, despair creeps in. You've saved one life, but then a beautiful girl with blue eyes and black spotted teeth tugs at your pant leg, asking for another dinosaur sticker, and you realize you weren't bold enough.
You need to do more.
That is day 2. On the third day, you're incapacitated by charity.
Mobilized by what you cannot achieve.
The girl tugs at your pant leg again, while the teenage Athenian tells you he will restore prosperity to his homeland. He will return very soon, and you know, devastatingly, he's wrong.
So the Argives whisper amongst themselves that perhaps it's better never to meet the children, that it's better to give from far away.
Optimism thrives on distance, and that's the most important thing.
Oh, but I mean, of course, we still want our borders open. I mean, we're just considering the danger of failing.
Of being burnt by the faces of the children we couldn't help.
We must be careful when we leave the palace for the camp. We'll be vulnerable to terminal altruism.
Electra has moved us closer to both triumph and devastation in the same gesture.
We will prepare our convoy for the camp. Rest up and sedate expectations. This will be a hard mission.
The chorus strikes the palace. As they do, the refugees poke their heads through the wall.
Dear Argos.
We heard you're coming to us.
That's good news.
You are welcome here.
We have no food to offer.
No shelter either.
Jobs.
The scarcity is real.
But we offer our space nonetheless.
And we thought, as a gift to you,
instead of meat or treasure or gold,
we would offer you the gift of art.
A chance to sit with us and create.
To assert our shared humanity.
Before these dreaded proceedings begin.
What do you say?
Want to write some haikus? I said, want to write some haikus.
I don't know.
I can't hear you. I said, want to write some haikus.
Yeah, let's write some haiku.
Yeah, haiku?
Good enough. The prompt is not a question this time. It's a statement. This is the statement.
You didn't do enough.
You didn't do enough.
You didn't
do enough.
You think, you write, and 3 days pass.
Here's what you wrote.
We hear haikus that were collected from the audience before the show.
You saw suffering, heard people like you begging, and still turned away.
Social distancing on my couch. On my couch is far better than being cast out.
Think of our nature, a morality of fear, unable to wait.
I just got laid off. No one is not essential. Fuck COVID-19.
I waited for you. You said that you would help me, but you never came.
Some get forgotten when you go mad trying to keep everyone safe.
I thought I should wait. Time just didn't seem right yet. Now the chance has passed.
Thank you, Argos.
The world always seems kinder when written in verse.
And with that we say,
please, have a seat at our table.
Please, drink the wine we do not have.
Please, make yourselves at home.
The wall disappears. The camp engulfs the theater. A massive reveal of chaotic colors and homespun life. Intermission.
We will now take a 5-minute break. Thank you, everyone. Okay, everyone, we are back. I will turn it back over to our stage managers.
What happened at the time? Remember when 3 days used to feel like an eternity? When I was a child, my parents sent me away for 3 days, and it was excruciating. I was alone in nature. I was supervising goats, or whatever the expression is. I miss my parents so much. My home, the smell of the fireplace, the lemon soup and the crusty bread, my bed, the stars, which I know, are the same wherever you are. But when I'd see them from home, they were framed by our trellis and our olive trees, and they looked so singular. Now, 3 days, whoosh, feels like you and me were just talking.
The messenger exits. She promptly runs back on.
Of course, forgot to mention, CLYTEMNESTRA approaches. Please have your refugees ready. God, this place is disturbing. A little too bright? In my mind, I thought it was gray. Honestly, it would have been better if they came to us instead. It would have been a treat for them to see the grandeur of Argos with their own eyes. It would be awesome. Surely they'd salivate at the opportunity to live their lives our way. But I'm not an expert in the psychology of the displaced. That's above my pay grade, but I'm not the only one who thinks what I think. There's a constant murmur of this opinion in both expected and surprising circles. Over scones at the cafe, during smoke breaks at the loading dock, over group text messages that were originally about the final play of the football game. It's just our opinion. Doesn't make us right. We could be wrong. We just think the refugees should be grateful. Sorry if that's offensive. Don't tweet at me.
The messenger bows and leaves.
Unusual to hear such offensive opinions in the voice of a messenger.
Jarring for sure. I thought she just delivered messages.
I suppose she was delivering a whole cluster of messages. A mixed message?
Well, I mean, in which case, message received.
I hope she's happy.
Electra, you got her out of the palace. Impressive, sister. I didn't doubt you for a second.
She's almost here, and this is a delicate part of the plan. First, logistics. Do you feel confident in your choices of representatives? Are they skilled? Are they good?
I think so. Orestes not so much.
Why, what's wrong?
I don't know, Electra. The past few days didn't go as I'd anticipated.
Oh, stop. Did you think it would be easy?
No.
So what was so surprising?
I don't know. It all feels inadequate.
Inadequate?
It does, or you do.
Everything does. Inadequate.
You see what he's doing? It's all or nothing with him.
Don't be frustrated with me.
We don't have time for this.
Do we have a spokesperson from each group or not?
We do.
If they even show up.
They will.
How do you know that? We haven't been given the time of day since we got here.
Did you want to be worshipped by them?
No. I just thought, clearly we are people who can help. We bring an air with us. I thought we'd be met with more, I don't know, enthusiasm.
Electra, your brother is upset that as we met with the refugees and solicited volunteers and rehearsed testimonials, we did not command 100% attention. Fights would break out over finger paint. Attentions would waver. As we were coaching the Thracian and explaining that this was the key to asylum, all he could do was point at the phone in my pocket and say FaceTime.
If it were me, I would have paid more attention.
That is so arrogant.
I don't think it is too much to ask when survival is on the line.
You hold unfairly high expectations for reality. You should have been an artist.
I understand this comes across as self-important. I'm aware of that, but I really do want to give. I want to help. I am selfish, yes, but at least my selfishness bends towards generosity. Don't be mad at me, Pylades.
I'm not mad.
You are.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
I'll get mad if you keep telling me I'm mad.
I love you.
Ugh, gross.
I want to be with you forever and ever.
This is a roller coaster. They are ready. Sorry, Electra, what's next?
Okay, now the complicated news. There's a demand, a hard demand. You and Pylades have to get married. Like today, back at the palace right after the refugees speak. She insisted it was her only request. Is that all right?
I'm
I'm suddenly blushing.
This is not how I imagined it, but Orestes.
Pylades?
We have a dinner in our calendar 2 Wednesdays from now. You keep asking me about it.
Right, the Wednesday dinner. You didn't list a place. You always list a place.
Because the place is a surprise, and there was going to be another surprise. Over dessert, a question asked. I'm clumsy at these big gestures and have been nervous for months. Is this what you wanted? We never talk about it, so I put it on our calendar. I would be held accountable, and now, Electra, maybe this is a mercy, saving me 2 weeks of fretting. Orestes, will you?
Obviously, duh! Of course, yes, and yes! Oh my God! Was this planned? You two know me so well, bundling romance / lifelong commitment with a plan for radical activism. Pylades, the answer is yes. Any week, any day, but especially today.
Pylades and Orestes embrace.
Okay. Good. Sorry to rush this, but it is almost time. We'll be able to bask in matrimony once the refugees are saved. The Athenian will speak first, smart to open with our oldest friends, and followed by the MINOANs, and finally the Thracian. Sit across the arena from Mother. Watch her carefully. Encourage her with your eyes. Your hard work is over.
Our mother's work just begins.
Oh, Pylades, did you happen to find that boy, that cousin of yours? I should have asked sooner.
All right, that boy. Yeah, no, it was a lie. Not my cousin at all.
I'm sorry to hear that. No boy, then.
No boy.
Okay, was just curious.
Yeah, no worries.
So here we go. Steal a couple moments to yourselves. You are engaged. I love you both.
Orestes and Pylades exit.
Boy, no boy. Damn it, Pylades.
This is a major setback.
It's frustrating that people would lie about their lineage in order to get through these gates.
The truth of their suffering isn't enough.
But you can't blame them.
It's us.
We are the reason they're compelled to fabricate who they are.
Friends, go find a different boy. I hurry, I cannot go myself. Mother is almost here, and then the sun, the heat is already making me weak. Find someone to play the role. Anyone.
We could try.
However,
We're not casting for a short-term role.
any child we find would have to be Testamonists for the long haul.
If we had 2 years, we could legally adopt someone, proper channels, home inspections, etc.
But we have like 5 minutes.
So
You need us to kidnap someone.
Just do it. Please. Just anyone.
I fear.
why not do that?
Please.
Sorry, friend.
The testimonials will be enough.
We can clear the air afterwards.
We don't need the boy.
We do. We do.
Disagree. I know. I know consensus is hard.
Trust in the process.
Here we go. Your mother approaches.
The messenger enters.
May I present CLYTEMNESTRA, wife of Agamemnon, but so much more than that. When he passed away, out of sight, cause unknown, we assume a heart attack, he was a big guy, she came into her own as queen, a born leader, stern in her convictions that what is right is not always what is easy. She sits today to hear the woeful cases of the Athenians, the Minoans, and the Thracians. In the world of the displaced, these are the people that came to us. Their once prosperous lands have been rattled into an irritated dust by the flooded earth. Are these people so different from us? Do they deserve their losses, and did we deserve our luck? These are the questions. I'm not much of a hype guy. Let the story speak for itself, so I'll leave it at that.
The messenger bows and Clytemnestra enters. She quietly studies the camp, looking, smelling, feeling. She sits. Orestes and Pylades sit on the opposite side of the stage, facing her. Electra sits near Clytemnestra's side. The chorus is scattered around, leaving only the center of the space empty.
The Salmonist is near. Can you feel that tingle, that presence of family?
I can. Your happy moment will come soon.
May I present our first testimonial from the Athenian.
The Athenian, revealed to be one of the refugees, enters.
Come a little closer so you can hear me. Please come closer. Unlike you, I was unlucky. 2 weeks ago, I lived in a small apartment with my sister and her family. 4 kids and 3 adults squeezed into 3 bedrooms with faded wallpaper at the edge of the arts district. It wasn't much, but it was home. My sister loved to paint. She didn't start until she got pregnant for the first time and needed a new hobby. She honestly wasn't very good at first, but please don't mention it to her because she can be a little sensitive. Great passion and sheer determination made her into a brilliant painter. She always carried her little watercolor set and would stop to paint whatever caught her eye. Women walking to work in heels that were too high, babies playing in the grass, the good stuff. She collected these moments and memories until eventually they covered the walls of our little apartment, all different shapes and sizes and colors. That apartment was so full of joy. It was a warm night for that time of year, so the kids were out late chasing cats when they announced the ration of drinking water. Within weeks, the once green lawns were a patchwork of brown and gray. The sky felt heavier. Even the cat seemed to disappear. Our lives changed more than I ever could have imagined. Like not even being able to keep up our old routines. My little niece loved to go to the supermarket with me. Damn those happy memories. They seem so simple to me. I would walk around barefoot, unprotected, unworried. I took for granted the little beauty in my life. How I would like to see what my sister would paint now. I don't think her palette has enough brown. There is not enough beauty anymore. Not like before. I like to think she'd find it.
I loved my niece like a daughter. On weekends, she'd play the violin for me. Did you know that the violin sound is the closest sound to that of the human voice? She told me that. I don't think that's true. It doesn't sound all that much like a person's voice. Maybe the violins would say that the person's voice sounds really close to that of a violin. Regardless, my niece probably made it up. To me, the sound of a violin is the sound of home when the sun is going down. Food cooked on streets that you eat on a little wooden stick. or the sound of nieces and nephews swimming in the fountain in the city square while adults drink from little glass cups.
I don't hear many violins
these days.
I wish I could have collected those sounds like my sister collected moments in her paintings. If only life was as simple. I would take a little glass jar, hold it open for a few seconds, and screw the cork in tight. Time is fleeting, like life, and peace, and home, nieces, violins, grocery trips, routines, cars, cats, ice caps, polar bears, forests and cities and neighborhoods, walking down your own street. Ownership, crowded apartments, smells, mom's best lamb stew, sweaty children, stinky paints, even paintings, triumphant art openings, sisters. Like grief, the endless fires, the insecurity, instability, and violence, long, cold nights without beds, endless, hot, and hungry days, tents, porta potties, more tents, moving, waiting, boredom, helplessness, displacement, the constant nagging awareness that everything is fleeting. That has to be fleeting too, right? Everything is fleeting, you tell us. Your time will come. Your time will come. As if it was all up to fate. As if there is nothing to be done. As if we suffer today so that we may be happy tomorrow. Life doesn't work like that. Our lives are as hopeless as the children that stand beneath ink-black skies, throwing rocks at airplanes as cousins or aunts or parents disappear. If only life was as simple. If hard work could beget good. Well, I can assure you, I have worked hard. I have suffered. As a community, we have suffered. Good is not inherent. No magical force will bring it to us. Only you. All we want is a fair chance. I sit silently at these gates and I wonder about the physics of wanting. How much a potential energy a person can hold without bursting. And how the sound or color or taste of that explosion would equal the collective potential of so many stunted lives. Here, at these gates.
And now the Minoan may step forward.
The Minoan, another familiar face from the refugees, enters.
My name is Lexi DiTrapano, and I am a member of Davidson College class of 2020. My story of displacement begins when I was 14, when I went back to Maine. I left my parents and moved in with my grandparents. I had a couple of trash bags full of my stuff, and I slept on their couch. I know that they would have let me stay forever, but they couldn't afford to feed and house another body for long. So I packed my things up and I left. For a few months, I bounced from house to house. I stayed for a while with my best friend's aunt. She treated me like family, and I was finally beginning to feel a sense of normalcy. One day, she told me she had gotten back together with her ex-boyfriend and that I needed to move out immediately. She wanted me and all of my things gone by the time she got home from work that night. I panicked. I had nowhere to go, and I ended up sobbing in my guidance counselor's office and asking for help. Luckily, she was able to get me in contact with a 24-hour youth homeless shelter near the school. So that's where I went. For the rest of my senior year, I took a taxi to and from school and worked at least 6 days a week to make ends meet. I was incredibly lucky to then get a full scholarship to Davidson, and I basically came here straight from the shelter. Things are more stable for me now. I have a consistent place to stay during school breaks, and I'm a senior here, or I guess there, this year. Little ironic, isn't it? But nonetheless, I still feel that same sense of otherness, of not belonging, of displacement that I felt when I was at the shelter or hopping from couch to couch. And I wonder if that will ever go away. Unlike you, I was unlucky, but still luckier than I could have been.
The following narrative was submitted by a current Davidson College student. The conflict in Aleppo began late, but was more intense than in any other city. For months, we had electricity and water only for a few hours each day. Food was becoming less available and more expensive, and civilians were being killed by stray bullets and mortar shells. My family and I left Aleppo on Christmas Eve of 2012 and stayed at my grandparents' house on the coast for a few months, during which my father went to Moscow and started working. My mother, brother, and I followed at the end of those months and stayed with my father in the clinic where he worked. Bedrooms were not used overnight, so we slept in them until we found an affordable apartment. I started learning Russian around that time. We moved to Nizhny Novgorod when my father started working in the new branch of the clinic. I continued taking Russian lessons until the next school year started, which was when I registered in a public school. My weak Russian would have affected the average of the school, so I was not placed in a classroom, but was taught a few subjects by individual teachers. Near the end of that school year, 2013 to 2014, I found an advertisement on Facebook for the United World Colleges, an organization with, at the time, 14 schools around the world. I applied and got placed in the UWC USA campus in Montezuma, New Mexico. I went there for the last 2 years of high school and then came to Davidson in 2016. I have not left the States to visit my parents during breaks because getting in requires applying for a new visa. Unlike you, I was unlucky, but still luckier than I could have been. But luck doesn't last forever. No magical force will bring a sense of place to us. Only you. All we want is a fair chance. We sit silently at these gates.
And we wonder about the physics of wanting. How much potential energy a person can hold without bursting. And how the sound or color or taste of that explosion would equal the collective potential of so many stunted lives here at these gates.
And finally, representing the people of Thrace.
No one steps forward.
Where's the Thracian? He'll be here.
And the last?
He's on his way.
We must wait just another moment.
Orestes, PYLADES, go find the Thracian. This camp is convoluted, the product of breath and necessity, and not sophisticated urban planning. He may be lost.
We'll be right back.
Orestes and PYLADES exit.
I don't have all day.
The soccer ball rolls into the space, all the way to CLYTEMNESTRA. She stops it with her feet. A few moments later, the young boy runs in. He's sniffling, still without his father. He freezes in horror when he sees the massive crowd.
Hello, young man. Where's your mother? What's your name?
His name is Tesamenus.
I thought it might be you. You have your father's Aegean eyes. Oh dear, this awful age has scared your voice away. What horror it could have been. Let's not even imagine it, and let's make you forget it. Your silence is rich with sound. I can hear you, my grandson.
Yes, ta-da! You see, I wasn't going to hide him forever. This is our third testimonial, the Thracian refugee, your grandson.
Third testimonial, right. I'll take it.
Clytemnestra stands and walks slowly toward the boy. It's as if she's approaching a terrified animal. She doesn't want to scare him away. She extends her hands toward him.
Tesamenus?
Ego uho Tesamenus.
He knows his name. It is indeed Tesamenus.
She picks him up in her arms and gives him a tight embrace. Clytemnestra begins to spin around with the boy still in her arms. She is elated, and he is deeply unhappy, repeating, "I am not Tesamenus" in ancient Greek. The rest of the ensemble begins to move around them, with jubilant music playing.
Ego uho Tesamenus. Ego uho Tesamenus. Ego uho Tesamenus. Ego uho Tesamenus. Ego uho Tesamenus.
After a long time, she puts him down and takes a step back.
Silence. Bring the boy back to the palace. Give him a bath and food, sweet food with cinnamon. He deserves it.
Yes, my queen.
We will follow soon.
Orestes and Pylades return without a Thracian, confused by the scene. The messenger awkwardly picks up the boy, who thrashes in his arms and continues to scream, "I am not Tesamenus." They exit, heading toward the palace. Clytemnestra watches, brimming with hope. She turns to the full audience.
My gratitude overflows to the Athenians, the Minoans, the Thracians. Thank you for sharing your stories. To my children, thank you for leading me to this camp to see with my own eyes what remained abstracted in the comfort of my palace. To all displaced people, you did not deserve this ill fortune, nor did you deserve the spectacle you were forced to make for your salvation. I must confess, the pretense by which you were called here today makes me a little sick. Makes me sick to think that I had no intention of letting you in. I apologize for that. I am grateful to my young people for riling in me the moral courage to really hear you. This is your world to inherit, after all, yours to fix. The collective of prior ages has dealt you a ruinous hand, but our cynicism should not stop you. This is all to say, I have changed my mind. Orestes and Pylades, my boys, head to your chambers and prepare for a joyous wedding set to the backdrop of how you've inspired me.
Orestes and Pylades celebrate. Pandemonium in the chorus. Wild cheers everywhere. Everyone exits except Clytemnestra, Electra, and a couple members of the chorus. The sounds of celebration follow the exits and remain at a low level.
Yes, I have changed my mind. Thank you, Electra. Let's make it official.
Clytemnestra addresses the audience.
The Athenians, our oldest friends, are welcome in Argos. The gates open for you at sunrise tomorrow. Thank you all for your time and humanity. That is all. May you find your new homes tomorrow. May you find.
She turns back to Electra.
Time to follow and dote over Tesamenus. I have a hug the size of Olympus for my dearest boy, the future House of Atreus.
Mother, what about the Minoans and the Thracians? Aren't you forgetting them?
Don't get greedy now. You've scored a major victory.
No! It's everyone. Everyone. We asked for everyone.
That's impossible. Take the thrill of the lives you've saved as proof of a hard day's work. Enough is enough. You aren't a goddess.
How can you listen to these poor people and you see them, their faces, their pain, their joy, they've lost so much. Their identities are in shreds, life is a purgatory. How can you deny them one group and not the other two?
We must prioritize the Athenians. We have the deepest alliances with them. They are like family.
I can't believe you will make a partial decision.
One group is as far as I'll go, with good reason.
What could possibly be the reason?
Even with the Athenians, I am weakened. You are weakened, spread apart, diluted. Remember what I said. One thing well, instead of all things badly. You have fogged my guiding light as I now endeavor to split my focus between my people and these newcomers, and thus become proportionately less effective. But my love, you should celebrate. I mean that genuinely. You have moved me and caused me to change. You asked for everything. I gave you something. These days, that's as good as it gets.
I could kill you right now.
Sweetie, you could never kill me. You're too weak for that.
CLYTEMNESTRA exits, leaving the chorus and ELECTRA.
Witness the joy and agony of small victories.
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 Witness the joy and agony in small victories.
Witness the joy and agony of small victories.
The chorus exits. The camp is gone. ELECTRA is alone on stage, frozen. The nurse enters with a wheelchair. She guides ELECTRA into the seat. She spoon feeds her from the green drink. As she does, she addresses the audience.
Back to my story. I was a doctor in Troy, an oncologist. Yes, I got into the field to be a hero, but my drive wasn't bound to any sort of reality. Rather, it was a nerd's errand, a fascination with the archetypal villainy of cancer, a force whose endurable evil drew strength from the likeness it bore to its victims. To us, I would be the one to stop it. Pretty quickly, however, I realized that my value was not in my hero's quest, but rather in my power with predictions. Though, honestly, I was just consulting tables from peer-reviewed journals. My patients would listen to my numbers and ranges, 20%, 4 to 6 months, 3 and 5, with the weight of divine prophecy. I could see their futures, and they trembled with anticipation of the appointment when I shaped the rest of their lives by the path I foresaw. It was an awful power, believed for all the wrong reasons, and discredited even less responsibly. Before the war began that made me a refugee, that brought me to this foul-smelling country with bad food and ham-fisted architecture, the parents of one of my youngest patients refused to end their appointment until I improved my prediction. So I did. Dr. Priam, they said to me. You can call me Cassandra, I replied. This 50%, you say, is it good news or bad news, do you think? It was then that I knew that my prophecies were less about accuracy than spin. A good prediction knows how to satisfy its audience. It's the best possible prognosis and well worth your joy. Go! Take her to the mall tonight. Celebrate with a huge feast. Shower her with love. That was the old life. Science was magic and home was permanent. It all changed in the blink of an eye.
May our children's successes today be the start of a new and radical change, the eye blinking open. We can still hope.
The nurse exits. Silence in the palace, with Electra alone in the wheelchair, perfectly still. The refugees, minus the Athenian, enter quietly. They turn the space into an upper middle class contemporary dining room with a small table. The table is placed so that Electra is already seated at one of its sides. No one has to touch her wheelchair. She is now daughter. As they set this up, the Thracian repeatedly asks the audience questions like, have you seen my son? Do you know where he is? He has a soccer ball with him. He's about this tall. The Minoan asks the audience questions like, have you seen his son? Do you know where he is? He has a soccer ball with him. He's about this tall. When they're done, mother and son join daughter at the other two seats at the table. The lights shift, and we hear some soft acoustic coffeehouse off stage, Jack Johnson if possible. Silverware clinks on the dinner plates. We're in present day now, explicitly American.
At least in the European camps, there's running water and heat and basic medical care. The squats are awful, but there's space, you know, so people can spread out. It's a legit humanitarian crisis, but it is nothing, and I mean nothing, compared to what's going on at our own borders, in our own goddamn country that you're so proud of. People haven't showered for weeks. They're forced to drink out of toilets. They have to sleep standing up. Like, standing up. That's literally what I mean. It's not even an idiom. They have to sleep standing up. And what are we doing about it? If this won't get people to take to the streets, then I don't know what will. It's all just so fucking depressing that I can't even deal with it. And like here we are with your fancy plates and pots and pans and grass-fed pheasant or whatever, and Jack fucking Johnson strumming on the bows, and you ask me what color I think your new Mercedes should be. And you ask this one, and I'm sorry, but you ask her what the gas mileage is, as if that's going to save anything. And I just think it's about as asinine as the whole plastic straw business. And that's when I start laughing. And you call me the rude one. I am the rude one. When our own police force is torturing people in concentration camps at our own border, yet I am the rude one? I mean, I just don't understand how you people can function.
Oh, young man, all you can do, and I've said it before, is get on with the business of living your own life. That's all you can.
Son slams his napkin on the table and storms off. Mother looks at her plate and shrugs dramatically. She says something under.
You should get a Tesla.
A Tesla?
They're cheaper now, I think.
I don't know. Elon Musk, yuck.
Something else electric.
Perhaps. It would be nice to avoid the gas station. Good idea, sweetie.
Mother hums to the music. She gathers the plates and clears them. She returns and wheels daughter off stage. Lights out. End of play.
All right, thank you all. Get this virtual background out of the way. Okay, thanks so much to our audience and to our wonderful actors. Bravo, thank you for adapting to this format beautifully. I hear there's clapping going on all over the YouTube chat. I'm going to stick around for a few moments. We'll just let some of the questions come in if you have any, and I'll field a couple. And any actors, you can jump into the Zoom and join me if you want to answer anything. So we will just pause here for a second, and special thanks to our wonderful producer, Carly Henderson, who's been an enormous help throughout this process and has been monitoring the YouTube channel all night long, and is going to send some questions here. Forgive any cats that jump into my lap while we do this. I will mute video until we have some questions. Okay, we have a question from the audience. If any actors have stuck around, we are wondering what tonight was like for you. So feel free, if I do have anybody here in the audience, to jump in, talk a little bit about the experience of performing through a Zoom stage.
Yeah, strangely fun. Not what I was expecting.
Okay, well, I'll jump in. My trackpad actually stopped working in the middle of it, right when I had to come on for a line. So I had to run off and get a mouse. So that's kind of how the Zoom stuff is going.
You lost your best line, which was what? It was to taste or something like that?
Oh yeah, it was something like to taste. Yeah.
Shoot.
Yeah, for me, it was definitely hard to do my scene with Electra, just because I think a lot of that relationship is about the physical presence in the mother-daughter dynamic. So it was definitely hard to regain that energy, especially since it's been so long since we've been together. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I've not seen my mom for a long time. And it's kind of like, I don't know, like there was some kind of like other connection, but like not being able to like look at each other kind of was weird. Yeah.
Yeah, if you couldn't tell already, I'm a pretty physical actor. And so when confined to a little box, it opens up for some improvisation. It's hard. But it opens some windows that I never would have expected to crawl through.
Can I say how also interesting it was, something I feel like we've all been experienced through this quarantine is like, and also it's a theme in the play of like the refugees and like how confined you feel, and you feel like you had so many things planned for this show and you have so many things that you want to show people, and now you feel like you only have so much space to display that to others and connect with other people. And I think that's speaks a lot to the role of refugees in this play, which is kind of a cool parallel that we never would have expected. But yeah, I'm glad we got to reach some people through this.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting because like I don't know, I've had people tell me before that like I naturally have like a disturbed look on my face just like in normal life. And, like also in rehearsing for this play, I kind of took on as a chorus member like this kind of very skeptical attitude. And so like especially now given our current circumstances in the world, I don't know, it was interesting for me to watch my own face and to watch how I was like, how I might look like I was feeling. And I think that was a lot more impacted by what I'm actually thinking and feeling in the current crisis rather than thinking about the actual text of the play. So I was, in that way, I felt actually like a bit removed from the actual text of the play. I was just so preoccupied with thinking about what's happening right now.
I'll throw in another couple of questions here, and you all are welcome to participate in answering these. Just in response to this, I think so much of what we study in acting class is about listening and being present with another human being in space, and the way that human beings talk, and there's always a little bit of overlap to that. It's impossible to do that in this forum, and I noticed in listening to the play, the scenes that were very monologue heavy played really well because it's just that person, and then the scenes that are all about the banter, it's a really fast-paced show, and it's hard to convey that through Zoom. And it's also a very physical show, and at least in terms of how we had conceived of it in the rehearsal hall. So I think that echoes what Alex was saying about feeling so confined when really, the chorus especially has all of this choreographed movement. So how does it feel? This is following up on some of what you all have already said. How does it feel to be able to present this after thinking that it would be canceled? Maybe some folks could talk through the experience of feeling like it might be canceled, and it was canceled, and then we had some time off, and then we came up with this idea.
Well, an actor once told me that before he did any show, he would intentionally forget about half of his lines so that, he'd always be searching for something. So I did that, but just on accident, and it really worked this time.
I kind of had mentally disconnected from the show after the news. I think we as Davidson students, and I guess as an entire country and world, had a lot on our plates emotionally. And so I kind of had to set that aside for a bit. So to get an email from you, Steve, saying, hey, let's get the band back together, was exciting because it made me relaunch myself into art that I had gotten involved in and a community that I love so dearly. So it was good, but it was also a little bit surprising and a little bit hard to reconnect in this new way and virtually. So.
Yeah, I felt that too. Echoing what Maddy said, sort of being in this mindset of going into Tech Week in just really a matter of days to then knowing that we weren't going to have a show. It was very, very odd feeling. So much energy during the time of the show that we were at, and so kind of just to lose that all of a sudden was a lot. Yeah, seeing the email from Steve, I thought it was a great idea, and I think to be able to present in some format all the work that has gone into the show really in the past, I don't know, Steve, how long you've been working on this, but really an immense amount of work. So it was very important for us to be able to do this.
Yeah, it's been about 2 years in the making, and there are some questions we've gotten in the thread about for folks who know a bunch of the participants in this process traveled to Greece over last summer and did some work with refugee NGOs over there. And we also saw some theater, and then we did a workshop on campus with my professional New York company in August. So it's been a long, long process. There's a great observation from someone in the thread of how ironic that a play about people who can't go home was performed by people who can't leave home. How did this influence the iteration of this piece tonight? I mean, I don't want to speak too much for her, but I was really struck when our performer Lexi DiTrapano was reading her testimonial and had that catch during our rehearsal of I'm a student here, well actually I'm a student there and I'm here somewhere else now, and the whole idea of displacement had a totally new meaning then. Anybody else want to comment on that really smart observation?
Yeah, also it's that it was just really close to the actual date of the show. And then when it was canceled, like right before it, it was kind of like, okay, it was kind of a letdown. But then when they announced that it was going to happen again, it was like really exciting.
Let me there's a whole bunch of questions, so we won't be able to cover everything. Let me see. There was a question about the writing. Someone mentioned the letters, and I'm not sure if that's in reference to the haikus or the testimonials, so I will just quickly discuss both of them. The Athenian testimonial, which was the piece, and unfortunately we had some music issues tonight, so some of Nilay's music did not come through. I tried to play a filler track that was not his, that wasn't quite the ideal quality. So even in this forum, there's still a lot of live theater, things can go wrong. But this was the very poetic testimonial from the Athenian. That was written by 8 students during roughly around our workshop period last August. Some of the students in this show, and they're all credited in our YouTube room. Let me see if I can just cite them real fast so they get a shout out. Landin, Eldridge, Marin, Rehfield, Zoe Harrison, Sam Jaberga, Kayla Edwards, James Shakow, Raul Galvan, and Lidan Zhang. So this was a monologue written by 8 students, and basically over email, they would just pass the monologue around, and I gave them a few prompts in order to contain it somewhat. I would give maybe a phrase that they had to include, or a direction that they had to include, a list of 20 things, or maybe some thematic note. And then it was almost like coloring in a picture. They had to fill in all of the gaps, and it created this really wonderful group writing opportunity. The haikus have been a presence in all phases of this show, and we felt very strongly that we wanted some audience participation in that. So some of you may have noticed on our Davidson social media feeds, we've been soliciting some haikus, and we read 7 of those tonight. The other ones that were read earlier in the show were all written by the ensemble during our rehearsal process. Let me see if I can put one more question to the cast before we part ways. Do we have plans to produce this in the fall? We are considering this a postponement and not a cancellation. Of course, with the nature of Davidson college students, some folks go abroad in the fall, some folks are graduating, and it was really important to me to preserve as much of this original cast as possible, even though we had a couple of absences tonight. So much hard work has gone into this, and even once you start to substitute a few people in a new production, the chemistry changes, even the work might change. We might be in a different artistic moment, and we want to explore something different. So that was part of the thinking that led to this staging. How difficult, actors, was it balancing an awareness of classical acting styles or classical mythos and contemporary styles, contemporary applications?
It was definitely the language. I think Steve and I talked about it briefly of like, how does it differ when it's such a like a poetic language and it seems like all aloofed a little bit, but then when you change back to like what could be considered a colloquial language, like I think I had fun with like the switching back and forth. I think the physicality we always had definitely translated into making it more, I don't know, like it spoke to me more, like the text meant a little more than just what a simple like word could mean.
Well, for the course too, this probably didn't come across, well, couldn't have really come across on video, but like we really did kind of spoke the words as if we would casually, but then it was our movements that made it kind of more that like classical interpretation. And that was something really cool that Steve did, is he had our movements be very like synchronized. So that was really cool. Something that we kind of missed out on in this, but yeah.
I think also the grandiosity of the style, but also kind of not simplicity, but the normal language was kind of hard to pair, and that you can easily read it as a lot smaller and a lot more human, especially for Clytemnestra. But I think the grandiosity presents an interesting dynamic between each of the characters.
And I've quoted this to my students and my actors before, but I think this is an Anne Bogart, a great American director, a paraphrase of something she wrote, that truth lies in the tension between opposites. And I, as a writer and as a director, I'm a big fan of mashing up opposites together. So having these very mythological, heightened characters speaking in a really quotidian or layperson or contemporary way. I think it's just really cool what emerges from that sort of paradoxical, throwing together of elements. Don't always have to know what it means, but I think there is something that almost indescribably theatrical that comes out of it. Can I open it up for actors? Any final comments, questions that you want to share tonight with our viewers before we part ways?
Come watch it in the fall.
Thank you for coming. Really.
Yeah. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And stay strong and stick with your family or the people that you have. This is a really hard time and a time of disappointment. So thank you for coming.
It's been really fun.
Great. Thank you all. And thanks again to the actors for your wonderful work tonight.
And thank you, Steve. You were amazing too. And to the whole crew, cast and crew, everyone was amazing. So thank you.
Okay, good night all. I hope you can go have a late dinner or a refreshment now. We'll see you soon.